Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? It's like every month your paycheck goes in and goes right back out because of bills and payments. As a financial coach, I want you to know that it is not your fault. There are literally corporations worth millions and billions of dollars that are working against you to keep you in this cycle. That's why in this video, we're going to expose these middle-class money traps that are made to take your hard-earned money, and guess what? They're working. That's why as you keep watching to the end, each of these traps are gonna get more and more surprising because most of them are hiding in plain sight. So this first trap is one that you run into very often. It shows up a lot when you're scrolling on Instagram or on Facebook. You'll come across an ad for some product or an influencer showing off a product and you click on it. Let's just say a pair of shoes and you see the price, but man, it is way too expensive to buy. But here's where the trap sets in. Just below that big price, there's a button at the bottom that reads, buy now, pay later, only 6 easy payments of $17.50. And it's like, great, I don't have $105 to drop right now on shoes, but I can afford $17.50 a month and it's interest free. Now this trap is called the BNPL trap or the buy now, pay later trap. It's a short-term installment loan that breaks up a purchase into equal payments that you pay over a set amount of time. So most of these companies use a pay in 4 model where you make your first installment payment at checkout and then 3 more interest-free payments every 2 weeks. But the popularity of this trap has skyrocketed since COVID, right? The dollar amount of BNPL loans in the US grew from $2 billion in 2019 to $24.2 billion in 2021, and that number's projected to hit $180 billion by 2025. So why is this considered a trap? Well, let's look at the 3 most popular BNPL companies and their alluring slogans. Afterpay is at the top of their game, and their slogan is shop now, pay over 6 weeks, never pay interest. Sounds nice, but they have big late fees. Afterpay users can face a late fee of up to 25% of their purchase if they miss a payment. Next, we're going to call out Affirm, whose tagline is pay at your own pace. Sounds very nice, but in their terms, it says that interest rates can go up to 36% depending on your credit worthiness. And then there's Klarna. I see them everywhere, and their slogan's pretty good. Makes shopping smooth. It's all smooth, of course, until you miss a payment and then it gets rough. And actually, in fact, it's probably rough from the beginning because when you use something like Klarna, you're robbing your future self from the start. It's a very similar feeling you get with the second trap too. So this second money trap preys on one of humanity's biggest weaknesses, patience. Look, just like in the last trap, this one gets you if you're looking for immediate gratification or if you're someone that makes impulse purchases. For example, my wife and I are right now looking to replace our current couch. And as we've been couch shopping, we've seen this trap plenty of times. Right there, plastered all over the furniture store are the words 0% financing, buy it today with no money down. Now let's talk through the risks of the no money down trap. I got 3 for you straight off the top of my head. You're gonna have higher overall costs, okay? No money down plans typically come with higher interest rates or fees, which increase the total amount you pay over time. Even if there's a 0% interest rate to start, it goes up like this once their little promo period ends. 2, there is still a lack of ownership. When you finance furniture or other items, you don't actually own them until the loan is paid off. This means you could lose the item itself if you don't make the payments. I used to always watch this show Operation Repo as a kid where like people would come in and repossess people's cars. It's pretty funny. But imagine that happening to your couch. That would just feel sad. And 3, you are just signing yourself up for more debt. You're giving yourself this false sense of ownership when you don't really have it, and you have to now make this payment of a couple $100s a month over the next 6 to 12 months, okay? Those few $100s a month can be such an opportunity cost, especially if you could have just invested that money instead. We'll talk about that later. The third money trap is pretty controversial because it is so popular. We love to keep this trap close to our hearts, or in this case, in our purse or in our back pocket. It's always there when we're dining out, shopping for clothes, buying gifts, or picking up random personal items, and this trap makes spending feel a little less painful every time. Me personally, I've definitely been out to dinner with friends and ordered a little too much, and when the bill comes, do I pull out my debit card? Nope. I pull out my trusty credit card. And why? It's because I know I'm gonna spend this money anyways, so why not just earn some points while I'm at it. More points equals more rewards, right? But what they don't tell you is what's really happening behind the scenes. This is the credit card points trap, and it's designed to make you spend more. Credit card companies create these reward programs as a way to incentivize you to spend more than you anticipated. And this can actually trap people into a vicious cycle of debt. So let's say you do actually rack up some points. These companies can pull the old bait and switch. If you miss a payment, they can completely revoke your points, or these companies can just devalue your points at any time, making them worth less. So now you have to spend more points just for the same perks. Just like inflation. Okay. Also, even if you pay off your card in full every month, like myself, I would be lying to say that I spend just as much money on my credit card as I would a debit card. There was a study done at MIT, all those nerds over there, but they used MRI scans to examine brain activity during a purchase, and they looked closely at the reward center of the brain called the striatum, which releases dopamine. But they learned that when you use credit cards to make a purchase, it not only releases the brakes in your brain when it comes to spending, but actually steps on the gas, which drives you to spend more. That's why credit card shoppers are more likely to buy more items, because they think more about the benefits of the product more than the actual cost. When you use a debit card, there's no rewards involved, and you can only think about the cost of what you're buying. And all in all, when spending hurts less, it costs you more. But let's switch gears literally here. This fourth trap you can spot when you're on the road. I usually see it when I'm sitting at a red light in my old 2012 Honda Civic and looking over at that shiny new Lexus right next to me. You might have friends who talk to you about this trap too. They're usually proud to tell you about how they're driving their new looking car and how it was so easy. All they have to do is pay a few $100s a month for a lease. Now your mind starts racing. Maybe I could lease a new car too. It's just a few payments a month, right? But what they don't tell you is what leasing really looks like over time. This is the car lease trap. Okay, leasing might seem like an affordable way to drive a nice car, but it's actually the most expensive way to get around. By the time the lease is up, you've paid thousands and you walk away with nothing to show for it. A car lease is essentially a glorified car rental. You're making monthly payments on a car you'll never own, and once the lease is up, the car goes back to the dealership along with all that money you spent. So instead of getting trapped in a lease, save up and buy a reliable used car. Sure, it's not as glamorous, but at least you'll own it, and you'll avoid the never-ending cycle of lease payments that eat away at your budget. Because if wealth building is your goal, avoid signing up for more payments, just to look rich. That's why this next trap is actually a payment that you can choose to avoid in an instant. My fifth money trap is something you could run into at a gas station. Heck, I even see it at my local Walmart. That sounded weird. They got these shiny machines with big old dollar signs and the word lottery written at the top. And for some people, they think, what if this is the one? For just a couple of bucks, I could hit it big, right? People convince themselves it's worth a shot, so it's a small price to pay for a chance at changing their life. But here's what really happens after that ticket is in your hand. This is the lottery trap. It's one of the scariest traps out there because it preys on the human desire for instant wealth, especially for those who feel stuck financially. But here's the harsh truth. Playing the lottery is a great activity if you like to throw money away fast. And it's mostly those people who can least afford it who get caught up in this trap. Research shows that people in lower income brackets gamble the most, often as a way to escape financial hardship. And according to a study from the University at Buffalo, those in the poorest neighborhoods are twice as likely to gamble, and nearly 30% of Americans in the lowest income bracket play the lotto weekly. So on average in 1 year, that's about $412 spent on tickets. And now I know that doesn't seem like much, but think about what that money could do if it were invested wisely. If you took $412 and invested it each year, earning an average return of 12%, after 10 years, that money would grow to over $7,000. So instead of spending your income on tickets where the odds of winning are 1 in 292 million for the Powerball, you could just invest and have a much higher chance of seeing your money grow. Okay, this final trap has been fed to you since you were a kid, and it really cranked up in high school. Everyone, from your teachers to your parents, have told you the same thing. If you want to have a good job, you have to go to college. I think nowadays we are steering away from this mindset, especially if you're in my community watching this video, but the majority of your friends and neighbors still hold that belief that college is like the end all be all, the key to success, and it's not anymore. For one, if you still want to go to college, you don't need to start right after high school, especially if you haven't made an effort to get the funding for your education. So don't just sign up for student loans just because you see all your friends starting college after the summer of high school. And don't just get student loans either because you think you need to get your bachelor's degree in a 4-year time span. So obviously, this last one is the student loan trap. It's one of the most dangerous traps out there because it feels inevitable, like there's no other option. But here's the truth. While loans might seem like the ticket to your future, they can easily weigh you down for decades, making it hard to build the life you dreamed of. Now, the student loan trap can get heavy. The average college student who uses loans pulls out $38,000. So of course, there are people who pull out more with crazy interest rates. And those interest rates can lead to your loans ballooning into something crazy so that you're literally paying loans all the way through your 30s, 40s, and even 50s. Now here's my hot take. I believe anyone getting a bachelor's degree can get it without student loans. I can make a whole other video on this topic, but some of the alternatives to student loans would be to just start taking advantage of programs like dual enrolling while you're in high school, community colleges that are in your area that are way cheaper just to knock out those first 2 years of school, and to take advantage of just working while you're in college. You also have options like commuting if you're cool with your parents and staying home for those years, and you should always be applying for scholarships and grants and financial aid so that you really milk the system for the stuff that actually is meant to help you. Just like the beginning of the video where you take away the option of financing things like a couch, you'll be forced to get creative. You'll be forced to look at more reasonable and practical schools, and you might just realize that you should probably just work so that you can cash flow college, even though it might take you 5 years or 6 years to get that bachelor's degree. At least now you won't be paying for your college for the next few decades. And one of the best ways to start living a more peaceful life today is by learning about the concept of frugal living. I break it down right here in this video, so click on this and I'll see you over there.